In this lesson, we're going to learn how to read a network news group using Python. In this particular case, we're going to use the comp language Python news group as our example. And we're going to see how to pick an article from that news group and read it. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to write a script, of course, to do this. So we're going to call this script newsreader.py. So we're going to open that up in our editor. First thing we're going to do is import the functions we need from a library. That particular library is called the NNTP LIB for Network News Transfer Protocol Library. So our first line will import the functions from that library. Our second step is to create a server. We're going to keep that name of that server to simply S to make it easier. And then we have to choose a server that actually stores network news. And there are several free servers you can pick. If you just Google free network news servers, you'll find one. I'm picking one at randomweb.aioe.org, but there's others you can choose. Now that we have a server to connect to, the next step is to actually connect to the server. So we're going to do that. And what we have to do here is we have to provide a list of data or variables that are going to be received when we make a connection to the comp language Python news group. When we make a connection to the comp language Python news group. So the way we do that is we write out our list. The list consists of 5 different elements that are going to be returned. A response saying that we made our connection to the server, a count, the number of news articles that have been retrieved, the number of the first article, the number of the last article, and a name. All we're really interested in here, though, are the first and last variables. Those are going to be used to create a range or give us an idea of where to start looking at news articles. So once we receive that, then our next step will be to get a list of subjects from our server using a function called xhdr. And it's used to retrieve a range of subjects from the newsgroup server. So subject is what we're interested in, and then we're interested in a range from first to last. And to do that, we have to play a little trick in Python and turn all that into a string. So the range first through last has to be in string format. So we do that by starting out with a parenthesis to indicate we're creating a string. Then we take the number of the first article first, turn it into a string, then we can concatenate a dash to indicate our range. And then we can make a string out of the last article number. So that's what we're doing right there. I'll show you that in a comment. What we're doing is we're just making a range that would look something like this. A string of 1 through 10 if that were the numbers. Except we're picking the number of the first article and the number of the last article and a dash and turning all that into a string. We do that through this set of parenthesized instructions. Now, once we've gotten that, we can then list the subjects. So we're going to write a for loop that's going to say for each subject in subs. But in this case, all we want are the last 10, because we could get, many subjects. So we're going to put a little specification on that. We do that by writing -10 colon inside brackets. And that tells the loop to only retrieve the last 10 out of that whole set. So out of all the possible subjects in subs, only retrieve the last 10. That's what we're telling it to do right there. And then we'll print each subject so we can look at it like so. That will give us a list. Let's go ahead and run that now just to see what we get. So we're going to save the file. And down here, now we're going to type Python newsreader.py. Wait a second as it makes a connection. Sometimes it takes it just a moment to do so, and there we go. And there's our list. So we've got 10 articles, starting at 90480 and going through 90489. So now let's take that list and pick one that we want to read. So let's bring our script back up. Let's prompt the user, which article do you want to read? Get that number. Then we're going to retrieve the body of that article in our next line. And again, it returns a list of data, but the way we retrieve it is by using a function called body. And body will take the number that we want, the number of the article. We have to turn it into a string. It will retrieve that, store the data in this list, and then we will get just the article itself out by using the list variable there. So we're going to say for line and list, print line, and that will print just the lines that are in the actual body itself. All right, so let's save our file, go back to our prompt. Let's clear the screen, run the script again. Now it's asking us which article do we want to read. Let's just pick 90481 as an example. So we'll type in 90481 and it retrieves it. So we can see that Ian Kelly wrote, and then he wrote this information right here, obviously. The arrows are part of what he was replying to. So that's how you read news groups using Python. It's a fairly simple process, at least what we demonstrated here. There's quite a bit more to it, and we can get quite a bit more complicated, but reading news groups is not really the primary goal of this course. We want to do more with web pages and things, but this is kind of getting us to that point. So I thought it'd be nice to demonstrate how this works. So hopefully you'll be able to use this script if you do choose to try to read news groups, and you can make lots of modifications. There are lots of good articles on the internet on using the NNTP library. So I encourage you to do some of your own research if you want to go further into reading news groups using Python. Now we're going to move to the next lesson where we wrap up the chapter and write a little demonstration program that works with reading email in Python.